Good news. Good news are two words that we don't hear very much of recently. Over 2020, we had some horrendous news in the story of the COVID outbreak, starting off in China, then making its way throughout the entire world. We also heard some bad news in Central America, where there's been different outbreaks of flooding and all sorts of other natural disasters happening there. And then there's also been the news in Australia at the beginning of the year where fires swept through the entire country and threatened a lot of the different wildlife that we know and love in Australia, like koalas and kangaroos. Our world at the minute is so full of bad news, but there is plenty of good news around. Jesus has come for us to have life and have it to the full, even in the difficult situations. Now, me and my wife have had some really good news this year, and it's off the back of lots of bad news. But I'm sure you're fed up of hearing me talk, so we're going to talk to my wife about our story.
In October 2019, we found out that I was pregnant for the first time, and it was really, really exciting. But then I had a miscarriage, and it was very traumatic, and we ended up being rushed to A&E, and it was just very sad, very, very traumatic. We didn't tell very many people because it was just, I didn't handle it very well. My mental health didn't cope very well. On Christmas Day in 2019, we found out that I was pregnant again, and we were very excited but also really cautious this time because we were really aware that things don't always go quite according to plan. So we were really excited, but then unfortunately in February we went for the 12-week scan, and we were told that I was carrying identical twins, but that neither of them had a heartbeat anymore and that they'd died. So I had to go to hospital and try different treatment methods, but I ended up having surgery, which was really, really difficult, to put it really mildly. So it was a really difficult time for us, and it's actually coming up to a year since the surgery, but since then we found out I'm pregnant again, and it was a very different experience again, wasn't it, with the pregnancy test?
Yes.
Because I had a lot of the anxiety still, but God had been talking to us a lot in the build up to that, and the two big messages he was sort of telling us was to have hope and also to have faith over fear, which was another really important one. So although we were terrified, we were just clinging on to God. For me, it was because of coronavirus. I was having to go to scans alone in the same building as where we had bad news, and I was terrified. But thankfully, God's been there, and this pregnancy is going really well, and we're not very far away from a due date, are we, darling?
No, we're not. Throughout this entire time, God's been with us, and He's brought us through these really difficult times, and I guess what we would say is, have faith over fear is a really big thing, because it is a big, scary time at the minute with so much going on in our world. But
it's not saying not having fear either, because that was the other thing. Like, I didn't feel like God said to us, don't be scared, because it takes away from what you're going through as well. But it was more like he was acknowledging the fear, but saying, actually, I'm bigger, and it's more important to have faith over that.
No matter what you're going through, no matter how scary or how dark things seem to get, have your faith over the fear. It doesn't mean that your fear isn't there, The good news is that God's with us, and He's above everything, and He's in charge of everything, and He loves you as much as He loves us, and He cares for you as much as He cares for us. God loves you, He knows your name, and that is good news.
Yes, it is.